On the Beacon of Speech. What is Beacon of Speech? Beacon of Speech is we promise free speech to everyone, and then we take it away. Nobody can have free speech. Okay, only us, because we are free speech thieves. We steal it away, keep it for ourselves.
Free speech moguls.
That is Ted Coley. I'm Fred Hunt. I am very much off my game in the last 2 weeks. For some reason, we're talking about people remembering things, remembering snow shovels, remembering Iran-Contra, right? For some reason, I feel like I have not done Beacon of Speech in like 2 years. Like, I cannot get focused on this. What's it been, 2 weeks?
I think 2 weeks, yeah.
This should be Beacon of Speech number 85. And you would think after 85 episodes of Beacon of Speech, I would be able to click, 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 right? I am farther off my game now than I was when I first started, right? And you know why?
No.
Because we were at that magical desk in the conference room, and it gave us magical powers. Mm-hmm. And since they took away, you know what? I think my goal should be we get that desk back. We get that desk back. We're going to take it out of someone's hide. So, but that's Ted Coley. I'm Fred Hunt. Who are we going to slander today, Ted Coley? I gave you a hint earlier. Who are we going to slander?
John McCain.
John McCain. Why is Fred mad at John McCain, you ask? Do you even care? Do you care why I'm mad at John McCain?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do.
John McCain is an American war hero. I wrote an article about him this week. He is a true life, flesh and blood war hero, right? He did things during the Vietnam War that we could not do. He had the intestinal fortitude and the mental strength to endure torture in order to help out his fellow comrades in the POW camp. Okay? Now, anything that John McCain did before the age of 45, how old are you, 50?
50.
Before the age of 45, we are not going to question. John McCain, before 45, is awesome. We're not going to argue. Okay? Now, let me ask you some questions about John McCain. How long has John McCain been a public servant, Ted Coley?
I believe since 85, maybe?
Even farther back, if I remember right, and I read the article, I wrote the article, I believe it was 1980, well, let me do the math. 1982. Young John McCain. And when I say young,
what did he initially run for? Like
he ran for the U.S. House of Representatives.
Oh, that was his first?
Yep. He ran for 2 terms, and he did very well. And then...
Okay, so what, did he become a senator in 85 then?
He became a senator in 86.
Okay.
He was going in Arizona in 1986. And again, I might be off by a couple months, but 1986. Who was the senator before him in Arizona? Do you know? I'll give you a hint. He is a national figure.
Who was the senator in Arizona?
In 1986 that John McCain took over for.
He is a national figure. I probably know this, but I can't think of it.
Barry Goldwater.
Oh.
So Barry Goldwater was a senator from Arizona from what, like 1965 until 1987. And he ran for president. Everybody knows about him running, for president and getting crushed because he was so far, he was so conservative, right? John McCain took over his seat. He's been a senator, right? And everything he does, a lot of people are like, he's a maverick. He speaks his mind, right? And that's great. That's what you want in politics. In 2000 and, is it 6 or 8? That he ran for president.
2008.
In 2008, he ran for president. And all the way up to 2008, I can't say anything bad about McCain, but then I'm going to double back and say a little bit bad stuff, right, in my article, right? And again, you go to Beacon of Speech, the articles, John McCain, free speech, slander something, I don't remember, okay? But in 2008, he ran for president. Who did he pick to run as his running mate?
Sarah Palin.
Now, let me ask you a question. We're going to pretend like me and you are working together, okay? I used to ask these questions of Ted Coley all the time and drive him absolutely freaking crazy, okay? Ted Coley, you are running for president in 2008, and you could pick anybody, any of 300 million people in the United States of America. Would Sarah Palin be on your list of top 100?
No.
No. You can make a list out to 1,000 people that you would pick to be vice president. John McCain picked Sarah Palin. Okay? Now, we're not going to bash on Sarah Palin even though we could. Okay? I'm just going to say that she would not be on my list of top 1,000 candidates to be vice president. So he made a glaring error in picking her. Okay? Here's what the article says. The guy who took over for Barry Goldwater's seat picked Sarah Palin to move the ticket to the right. Correct? That doesn't make any sense. Right? Because if you're in Barry Goldwater's seat, you should be as far right as they could be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and trust me, I'm going somewhere with this, okay? It takes a long way to set the article up, too, okay? Why is John McCain in the news every day this week? Every single day?
I guess because, what, does he have a book out?
John McCain has a book out, and you see that Indian right there?
Mm-hmm.
That Indian keeps an eye on us, okay? This is our free speech mascot, okay? As soon as they take away the Indian, we know that we're in trouble, okay? We can't talk about Indians anymore, okay? This is not really... Carlos Santana's up there, too, but he's not really our free speech mascot, okay? That's a whole new level of racism, so we're not going to say that just the Indian is our mascot, okay? John McCain, you know what's sitting over his shoulder right here?
What?
Death. That's the Reaper, okay? John McCain is doing his version of Beacon of Speech at his house, okay? The Reaper is sitting there with the hammer and sickle, ready to strike, okay? And John McCain is like, listen, I'm gonna die. I gotta warn you. I can speak freely. I have a newfound voice that I haven't had in my whole life, even though he's 80 years old. Do you know what that newfound voice needs to tell? What does he need to tell you and me? What is he screaming at his computer screen?
Something about Trump?
Trump is horrible!
Yeah.
Trump is the devil! You people who supported Trump, you are idiots! Trump, you know what? Trump can't come to my funeral. I'm planning my own funeral. There's death right there. You cannot come to my funeral, Donald Trump. Hey, you're my advisor. You make sure Trump's not there. You put armed guards. Trump will not be at my funeral.
So what would John McCain be doing differently than what Donald Trump is doing? What does he give any specific examples of?
Oh, everything would be different. Foreign policy would be different, and literally everything would be different. Okay, now we're gonna delve into this a little bit. Okay, and we're gonna slander John McCain because we are horrible people, and when I say we, I mean and Ted moves away. Ted's like him. John McCain absolutely has freedom of speech in this country. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
John McCain is 80 years old. Okay, he said this week that now that he doesn't have to face the voters, he has a newfound freedom to say whatever he wants. Okay. To me, that is deplorable. Absolutely deplorable. Because for 35 years, basically, he's been afraid to say what's on his mind because he's afraid of getting voted out of office.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to... He wrote like 8 books. They're all about honor, duty, all this other military, guidelines, faith of our fathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he hasn't felt like he could speak his mind because... he has to get reelected,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you are bound to get reelected, do you really have freedom of speech? And that's what my article is all about, okay? He did not want to warn the people of Arizona about how horrible Trump was because he was in a reelection campaign, and he was afraid that if he said bad things about Trump then he would get voted out of office. That is the biggest kind of coward there is, okay? If he loved America, he would be more worried about America than more worried about himself getting elected. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
John McCain, instead of being in Arizona, he comes out and he says, listen, I've been your senator for 20 years, and I think Trump is the devil, but please vote to reelect me. Would you have reelected John McCain, Ted Coley?
No.
Which proves my point. Now I would have voted. I have voted for John. I voted for John McCain in the 2008 primaries. I voted for him, and then when he picked Palin, I said he must have severely impaired judgment. I cannot vote for him in the general election because when he picked Palin, that was such an oversight and such a horrible decision made by backers and political strategists. John McCain did not speak ill of Sarah Palin until when?
Until after the
How far
election.
after?
Um,
I'll give you a hint. When did he come out and say, I should not have picked Sarah Palin, I should have picked blank? When did he come out and say that?
the next day. I don't know.
Today!
Oh, today.
What is today's date?
May 6th,
May 6th. What year?
2018. So this is almost 10 years.
10 years later, he comes out, and again, look. Okay, I wish we had a black hood. We could put it on the Indian. Okay, death is sitting on his shoulder, and he's screaming. Anybody who'll listen, number one, please buy my book. Right? Why do you need to buy his book? He's gonna die anyhow. Okay, please buy my book. And Grim Reaper is up here. I just want you to know I would have never picked Palin. They made me pick Palin. I didn't want to pick Palin. Oh, please, Reaper, just let me finish this sentence. What? Just one last sentence. I would not have picked Sarah Palin.
Who, when he says they, who does he mean by they?
The Republican Party, his handlers, his advisors, the strategists, his Republican team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, the reason I ask you this, and trust me, I'm still going somewhere with this.
Well, it's so funny because they're the ones who allegedly know everything.
Right, they know everything.
And it's like, he lost.
Right, and his whole thing is, if I would have known I was going to lose, I would have went out on my own terms. Well, then you should have done it, you jackass. John McCain keeps saying he's a maverick, I speak my mind, and then he doubles back and says, well, I couldn't say this and I couldn't say that. Well, why couldn't you say this or why couldn't you say that? Well, because I was beholden to the party. The party was bigger than John McCain. And we're going to double back to the party, okay? But...
Well, isn't that what, like, George Washington was worried about?
Oh, yeah. That is exactly what Washington was worried about. He said that political parties would overshadow the candidates. And that's exactly what's happened. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about after John McCain was 45. We're not talking about young John McCain. Okay, we're talking about old John McCain. Okay, I want to be clear. Okay, there's two things I want to say. Number one, John McCain came out today, May 6, 2018, and says, if it was up to me...
See, I'm starting to think that politics, a lot of those guys are bad before they even go in there.
Oh, yeah.
But even the ones who are good end up becoming
corrupted
bad because
by the system.
The system is just...
You are corrupted.
Nobody can survive that system.
Right. It's just like a giant corporation, and that's why I wrote in the article. It's like a giant corporation, the Republican corporation. You don't get to the top of the Republican Party by being the best Republican there is. You get to the top of the Republican Party the same way you get to be a CEO of a multinational corporation, right? You're going to be a nasty SOB, and I'm getting to the top.
See, and that's one thing that I think attracted a lot of people to Donald Trump, is that they knew if anybody could go in there and be immune to it, it would be him.
Right. And... again, because like you said, Donald Trump's like, I'm already in this. I'm already done this system. Now, you know I don't like Trump, right? But, and this is going to throw your head for a loop.
And I think so far he has been more immune than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think he's been totally immune.
Correct.
Like that budget that he had to sign off on recently, you know, and he said, this is the last time I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that is the worst thing you could have said, because if you ever do it again, that's all they'll use is that clip when you're running for re-election.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be read my lips.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. So let me circle back. In 2008, who, and this is brand new, like this is cutting edge. This is not from years ago. If, you know what, I'm starting to sweat. Apparently I'm getting fat because me yelling is making me hot. Okay? 2008, who in McCain's heart of hearts, as death is sitting on his shoulder, he's screaming. He's like, I just want the United States of America to know if it was up to me, I would have picked blank as my running mate. Do you know who it is?
Now, I don't know. I never heard anything. But I'm just going to say, is it Lindsey Graham?
No, not Lindsey Graham. You could get... see, this is a trick question, okay? Because I could let you guess for the next 10 minutes. You're not going to get it.
Well, wait a minute. Let me think.
2008, he was looking for a vice president. They gave him Palin. And again, he keeps talking like the shadow government. Like, they gave me Palin. It's like, well, who are they? They're your advisors that you chose.
Who did he want? Didn't he want somebody who was a Democrat?
Very good. He wanted Joseph Lieberman.
Okay. Yeah, I think I do remember that.
He wanted Lieberman, who was a Democrat, who went independent, because his theory was it would be two mavericks. All right, two mavericks. Me and...
See, I kind of like Lieberman.
Well, I don't have a problem with Lieberman either, especially being an independent. My problem is, it's just like a sporting event. You know, sometimes you get screwed in sports, right? And they said, you know what, if you're going to get screwed in sports, you might as well pick your own guys, right? Same thing in politics. They didn't let him pick his own guy because he was beholden to the Republican Party, and that... Now, if he had Lieberman...
Well, that's funny, because if he would have chosen Lieberman, it would have been the second time that Lieberman ran as a vice president.
Right. And so he's on his deathbed. He's screaming, I would have picked Lieberman. Now, if he had Lieberman, I think he still would have lost. Okay? Because I think Barack with hope and what was the other things Barack promised? Hope and faith, or hope and
change.
Hope and change. Whatever he promised, he was going to get buzzsawed.
Yeah, I don't think McCain would have had a chance no matter who he picked, because right before was the financial collapse.
Right.
And also, I think that people were fed up because of the Iraq war, with 8 years of George W. Bush. And I don't think no matter who would have run for the Republican Party, they weren't gonna win.
Right.
People were just tired of...
And I agree.
The Bush.
Right.
And even though John McCain really has nothing to do with George Bush, really.
Right.
He's a Republican, so they're like... it's just like when Gerald Ford tried to get elected.
Oh, yeah.
It's like he really had no chance, even though, from what I hear, he was a relatively competent president in those 2.5 years. But he was grouped in with Nixon.
Right.
And people had enough of that.
I thought somebody was talking, but I think that's your TV. Or is that someone talking?
Outside.
Oh, I hope they're not McCain fans. They're not coming to bust out your window. Yeah, they're pissed. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, because everybody has their own motives. Everybody in the whole world, including yours truly. Now, I don't like Trump, don't like Clinton. Said that 100 times. Okay? You like Trump, you voted for Trump. Why am I personally, as a Gary Johnson supporter, why am I mad at John McCain?
Why are you mad at John McCain?
Why was I so motivated to write an article about John McCain having no bravery, when it's obvious in his life he has had the extreme amount of bravery?
I don't know.
In the year 2016, 17 people ran for president on the Republican side. They famously said in the first debate, whoever wins, we will support the Republican nominee. Why did they do that? Because they did not want Donald Trump running third party. They thought Trump would lose, and then after he lost, if he tried to run third party, they would show the loop of the, you know how you said they'll show it on the cable news networks? They would show a loop of Trump saying, I will support the Republican nominee over and over. Instead, Trump won the Republican nomination, and a whole bunch of greasy Republicans said, we will not support Donald Trump, even though they made the same pledge as Donald Trump to support the party. Okay, again, we are going back to the party. Some of the Republicans who famously backed out of the pledge because they're Weasley dirtbags, John Kasich, Jeb Bush, John McCain. We're going to take those three, okay? Why is it so important that those three backed out of their pledge? Why did it make me angry? Me, Fred Hunt.
I don't know.
All three of those guys, they said, who are you going to vote for, Trump or Hillary? And each one of them to a man says, I will not vote for Trump and I will not vote for Hillary. Well, who are you going to vote for? I don't have to tell you. Well, why don't you have to tell us? Because by law, I don't have to tell you who I'm voting for, like smug little effing bastards. Okay? Why am I so mad? If they didn't believe in Donald Trump and they thought he was the biggest danger to America, right, since God knows what, they should have come out and they should have said, go out and vote for
Gary Johnson.
Gary Johnson. But John McCain came out in 2016 and said, I don't know what to do. I can't vote for Hillary and I can't vote for Donald. And my hands are tied because the Republican Party told me to tell you to not vote third party. So when John McCain is on his deathbed with the Grim Reaper looking over his shoulder, saying...
Well, you know what else is funny is their hypocrisy, because it seems like Donald Trump has done more of the things that they always promise they're going to do.
Right.
Again, they always say, oh, every one of them, I'm a conservative. I'm the real conservative. I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative. Donald Trump has done more conservative things than all those people combined.
And that's, again, I'm not, you're singing up for Donald Trump. I'm not.
Well, I'm not saying whether or not you like conservative principles, but would you agree that he's done many conservative things?
He has done conservative things. Like those guys coming up from Honduras, and he's like, yeah, we're not letting you in.
But this is what people like John McCain always say they're going to do when they're running for anything.
Right. And that's why...
Is that why he's mad? Because Donald Trump actually is doing what he says he was going to do, and that's not the right thing to do politically? Well, you're only supposed to say you're going to do it when you're running and then back off when you're in power?
Right. Well, and that's where I'm going with this whole thing. Is John McCain, when he ran in 2008, he basically said, I did everything right in my life up to here. You should have voted me in. Now, when he says you should not have voted Donald in, his premise, and again, I'm paraphrasing, Donald Trump did every bad thing there was to do. And I know you don't agree, but just take McCain at his word. Trump did everything wrong and got elected, and McCain did everything right and got voted down. So my whole premise is...
Yeah, but he really didn't, though.
No, he didn't. And that's the whole thing. Do you know how McCain got into politics?
No, not really.
I'll tell you the short version.
I mean, generally, I think I do, but not,
John McCain was in the tiger cage. Okay, you're John McCain. You're in the tiger cage, right? I'm poking you. And you're in the tiger cage, right? And all John McCain said is, please let me write to my beautiful wife back in the United States of America. She's the only thing that keeps me going, right? Then he comes back to the United States of America, and he retires from the armed services very honorably. Everything he ever did in the armed services was right? Once he got home to his beautiful wife, all I ever thought about in the tiger cage was you. I'm so glad to see you, right? Right? And then all of a sudden, he's in the private sector, and he's like, oh my God, You see that 22-year-old over there? That is a hot piece of ass. I don't think you understand. I was in the tiger cage for like 20 years. I didn't get to see hot pieces, or for 5 years. I didn't get to see hot pieces of ass, right? Dumped his wife, hooked up with a girl 20 years younger than him, right? Girl 20 years younger than him is rich, right? And she goes, well, you're looking for a job? My dad is looking for a vice president of his company. And he goes, well, that's great. I'm looking for a new gig. Ted, do you remember when you hooked up with that 22-year-old, and she might have been 24 or 25, so don't hold me to the age, okay? And then her dad offered you a job as vice president at the company. You remember when that happened to you, right?
No, I don't.
Right. So when he says Donald Trump is a horrible human being, I'm not arguing that. You would argue that, but I'm not arguing that. John McCain's whole career started because he dumped his wife for a young mistress and then took a job. Maybe it wasn't vice president, maybe it was like the associate CEO, but you know what I mean. It's an opportunity that you or me would never have in a million years. Okay? Through that position, then he started to meet people who are like, hey, John, you have a great story. You would make a great addition to the House of Representatives. In his normal life, being in the armed services, he is not meeting those people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Again, John McCain took advantage of the opportunities that he had. And again, he's going to die. He's got death on. For right now, death is swinging the thing. He's swinging his, pickaxe or whatever.
And you know what's funny is that a lot of those people who said that to him were in the business world, right? Yeah. So they were probably thinking of using him, and they would be like lobbyists.
Right. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Why don't you run for this, and then you could get legislation passed that would be beneficial to us.
Exactly. And again, he's like, well, why wouldn't I want to pass that legislation?
But they probably didn't portray it that way to John McCain. They probably just kissed his ass.
Right.
Like, you're a hero. But that's not really why they wanted him to go in there.
Right.
They were, in a way, using him.
Right. Right. And so, and that's the whole thing. This guy's using that guy. We're using him.
It's good business.
Yeah, business. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. We had a boss who used to say that all the time. They're like, that's business. You do. But so I was pissed because in 2016, McCain could have said vote third party, and he didn't. He wanted to get reelected. He wanted to make sure that those Republican dollars were at his back when he was running for reelection to the Senate. If he loved America as much as he said when he was a young man, excuse me. And again, I'm about John McCain's age when he got that young wife. I'm not going to say I don't notice hot 22-year-olds when they're walking by. Okay?
You know what's funny is that all these guys, how many Republicans ran in primary? It was 16 or 17?
17.
It was 17.
Right.
All the 16 other guys, they blamed Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. That he got the nomination. It never dawns on them that they were the ones that people were fed up with.
Right. Yeah. No. All of them, it was Donald Trump. And the whole thing is, if you split the vote 17 ways.
It never dawns on them that maybe there's something we're doing that not one of us could win.
Right. And if they had a brain between them, they would be like, Donald Trump is getting the split vote. Maybe if 10 of us dropped out before the start, but they're like, oh, no, I want to be president. None of them looked for the benefit of America. If Jeb Bush is like, you know what, if I dropped out, it would benefit America because Trump would not split the vote. But Jeb Bush didn't think that way. You see what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying Donald Trump is awesome. What I'm saying is if he is as bad as all the Republicans said, they could have defeated him. Yeah. They could have weakened him, like after he got the nomination, if Jeb Bush, McCain, and Kasich all came out and said, listen, Donald Trump is a reprehensible human being. Please vote for Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson gets 10%. Hillary Clinton wins. The Libertarian Party gets matching funds for 2020. And Republicans lose, right? Well, that's not good for the Republican brand. They all looked what was best for the Republican Party, not what was best for America, under their own concept that Trump is the Antichrist.
And you know what'll probably happen? Here's a prediction for you. What'll probably happen is, okay, now 2 years from now, Donald Trump is going to run for re-election.
Yeah, he's already got a committee.
Okay. Now, whether he wins or not, the next time a Republican runs, they're probably going to lose because a lot of those people who supported Donald Trump, they're going to leave and go back to sitting it out.
Right. Or the Democrats,
and the next Republican who loses, instead of realizing that, they're going to blame Donald Trump.
Right, absolutely.
He's why I lost.
Yep. Donald Trump is a Republican scapegoat because he did not play the game the way they wanted him to. And again, it goes back to all these guys are your buddy when they're in charge.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have any interest in not being in charge. You see what I'm saying? And so, again, I hate to defend Donald Trump. It drives me crazy. It makes me itch. I go home, I'm like, why did I have to defend Donald Trump today? The Republicans are complicit for Donald Trump. They could have stopped them. Now, let's say that you hated the Republican Party, right? There were ways to destroy the Republican Party. All these guys are like, well, Donald Trump is destroying the Republican Party. No, Donald Trump is redefining the Republican Party. He's trying to make the Republican Party a big tent. What he's destroying is the people...
If these guys were so great, then Donald Trump would never have been able to...
Right. Well, and that's the whole thing. People are tired of 3 generations of Bush. They're tired of 40 years of John McCain. They're tired... You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just proves how weak all of those guys were that somebody like Donald Trump could get the nomination in the first place.
Right, exactly. And that's where I'm going with this. And so, like I said, I'm a big independent party guy. All I'm saying is that John McCain does not love America first. He loves the Republican Party second, and he loves John McCain first. Okay? Because John McCain could have done things different if he was worried about the things he said he was worried about. John McCain is worried about John McCain getting reelected. Number 1, he's worried about the Republican Party second. Okay? Which is fine. There are a lot of people out there who are me first people. Would you say that's true? Especially in the business world. I'm just saying, don't give me that faith of my father's crap when you could have done something and you're like, my hands are tied. My hands are tied. You know what? I hate Donald Trump and there was nothing I could have done. Actually, there was a lot you could have done to stop Donald Trump and you chose not to. And in the article I cited the opportunities that he had to stop Trump, and he's like, no, I can't stop Trump. It's a downhill snowball. It just gains speed, and what are you going to do? Right? And again, I don't wish death on anybody because John McCain has terminal cancer, and he was a good man. But he was a good man corrupted by the system. Okay? Lots of people get corrupted by the system. If I do Beacon of Speech for 30 years, after 20 years, tend to be like, I remember when Fred used to scream in the camera, and now all he does is count his money, and he goes to bed with those prostitutes and stuff.
See, here's my prediction. Now, this is a long way out.
Okay, we might have to write this one down.
I predict that Donald Trump is going to get reelected.
Okay.
And then after he leaves office, there isn't a snowball's chance in hell that the Republican person who runs after him will get elected.
Well,
and it's not because of Donald Trump.
Right.
It's because it's going to go right back to the same Jeb Bush, blah, 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 establishment,
Rubio.
Talk conservative, and then come in and spend like a drunken sailor.
John McCain is 80 years old. He's been in office since 45, right? Do you know the fat rolls of cash that McCain is going to get? Well, I shouldn't say when he retires, because he ain't going to retire. He's, the Reaper's there. Right? But all this McCain stuff, McCain is an industry. Did you know that he had like half a dozen books out?
No.
No, you didn't read Faith of Our Fathers?
No.
No, you're a horrible person. You're even worse than I am. You're the typical Trump voter who doesn't read.
Did you read it?
No! I'm only reading the Gary Johnson story. The point is that McCain turned himself into the things, the Washington insiders that he rebelled against.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing that Rush Limbaugh yells about all the time. He goes, all those guys get voted in, and then they go to Washington, D.C., and they like to do the dinner parties, and then they stay for 30 years, and they forgot what got them in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same. They're just corrupted by the institution.
And you know what's funny is that, I get calls like, support Mary Taylor because she's a real conservative.
Don't vote for Mary Taylor.
And then who's the other guy? DeWine. He's the real conservative.
Yeah, he's the real conservative.
I'm like, you know what it is? I believe that none of them are.
I'm going to tell you the same thing I told my wife this morning.
They all run and say that because they think that's what people want to hear. And in reality, none of them are.
Right. I told my wife this morning, do not vote for Mary Taylor. I very
Mary
rarely
Taylor is what's our governor's name? John Kasich.
Yeah.
Is Kasich's lieutenant governor.
I believe so, yes. I don't vote for Mary Taylor.
Do you like Kasich?
I used to. You know when I used to like John Kasich? You'll get a kick out of this. When did I used to like John Kasich?
When he wasn't he a congressman?
In 2016, John Kasich was running for president. They came to Ohio in 2016. On the Democrat side, I could have voted for Hillary or socialist. Who's a socialist?
Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders. I might as well have been voting for Stalin. I am not going to vote for Stalin, okay? And I'm not going to vote for Clinton. So I took a Republican ballot and I looked at Ted Cruz, John Kasich, Donald Trump. Those were the only three guys who I thought could win. And I pulled the lever for John Kasich, right?
Believe it or not, I did too.
All right, well, you voted for John Kasich too. John Kasich said, I am the best hope for the nation. Only I can stop Donald Trump. I am a true conservative, blah, 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 blah. After John Kasich did not have a statistical chance of winning, I expected him to drop out and then support Donald Trump because he made the pledge, right? John Kasich came out and said, I cannot support Donald Trump. He is a reprehensible human being. John Kasich was more than willing for Trump to support him. He had no interest in supporting Trump. John Kasich, they went up to Kasich and they said, who are you going to vote for, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton? John Kasich said, I will vote for
Hillary Clinton?
neither. He would not vote third party. He would not vote Republican. He would not vote for Democrat. He crossed his shoulders and he said, there's nothing I can do and I don't have to tell you who I'm going to vote for. Now, a few smart alecks, I think one of them was Jeb Bush, said, I'm going to vote for Mike Pence. It's like, well, voting for Pence is voting for Trump. Oh, no, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm voting for Mike Pence. Mike Pence is awesome. No, they're on the same ticket, idiot. Well, I'm not voting for Trump. Okay, so all these Republicans, all these 17, now some of them got in line like Chris Christie. Okay, and this, I'm going to try and make this fast. In 2016, I am so mad because that was the perfect time for a third-party candidate, right? And the third-party candidate did not take advantage of chaos like they should have, okay? People like Colin Powell came out and he said, oh my God, Donald Trump is the devil. I cannot vote for him. Third party is not going to win. And even though it's against my principles, to save America, please vote for Hillary Clinton. That's what Powell said, okay? A few people crossed the aisle and said, please vote for Hillary Clinton. I did not agree, but I respected him because he went on the record and said, I think if Trump becomes president, we are in a whole lot of hurt, okay? Chris Christie came out and said, I don't care if Trump is the nominee, if Kasich's the nominee, Jeb Bush is the nominee, or Hitler comes back reincarnated. The ghost of Hitler is coming back. I will support the Republican nominee because I am a Republican through and through. I love the Republican Party. Whoever they put up, I am going to vote for. right?
Chris Christie is a funny person to me because there's some things about him I really like, and there's some things about him I really don't like.
Yeah, Chris Christie, he I'm going to whisper in your ear, he's like Steve, right? He'd be fun to be around, and he's fun to poke fun of, but you wonder about Chris Christie. You're like, I don't know about that guy, right?
Because Chris Christie to me seems like kind of like a thug. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not arguing. So,
he just seems like abrasive and like
Ted,
like he would beat you up if you disagree with him.
Yeah. Ted, I hope I'm not getting sick. Now I'm cold. So I'm putting my jersey back on. Anyhow, so the people that I'm mad at are the McCains and the Kasichs of the world who says, I don't have to tell you who I'm voting for. I can't vote third party, and I'm not voting for Democrat or Republican. Well, a leader would tell you who to vote for, who you're voting for in arguably the most... How many times you hear this was the most important election of our time and blah, blah, blah?
Every election.
Yeah. And they're like, no, we're just going to sit on the sidelines. We're going to sit on our hands, and we're not going to tell you. So that's why I was so mad. As a Gary Johnson supporter, all those guys could have said, please vote Gary Johnson. And I'm mad at Bernie Sanders, too. Because we're not going to say his name, but I have a family member, right? I'm going to write it down. I'm going to show you, right? I'm going to show you his name. Oh, can you even read my writing? Can you see what that says?
Oh, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about. Gary Johnson could have come out and said, listen, Sanders supporters, I want to legalize marijuana. And all these 20-year-old Sanders supporters would be like, we don't care what this guy stands for. We're going to vote for Gary Johnson. You see what I'm saying? There were ways for Gary Johnson to make a huge dent on that election, and the Democrat and Republican honks all made sure it stayed a two-party system. And like I said, if you're in the party and you're like, I don't like Chris Christie, I don't agree with him, but I respect his thought process. You see what I'm saying? And some people, like, was it Ben Carson? Said, oh, no, we like Donald Trump. You don't even have to twist our arm. Vote Donald Trump. Right? And then they got good positions. And
yeah. Yeah, that's why he got that position.
Well, but...
Wasn't it?
Yeah. But my whole point is that they don't stand for anything. They look for their own self-preservation and the preservation of the party.
Don't get me wrong. I like Ben Carson.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's just because he was just nice to Donald Trump.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't want to keep talking about this because I'll keep talking about it for another half hour.
And the thing is, I think some of those guys on the stage, the ones who were nice with Donald Trump, were just nice because they were afraid.
Oh, yeah. They did not want to hit that buzzsaw. They did not want Trumpians flooding their office saying, you're the devil and stuff.
I think Mike Huckabee was nice to Donald Trump, but I think it was because he just didn't want Trump turning on him with,
and you said Mike Huckabee. Donald Trump's like, hey, Huckabee was nice to me. Does any of your family members need a job? What is she, Speaker of the House now? Or not Speaker of the House. Press Secretary.
Secretary.
Yeah, so Huckabee's daughter is now press secretary. All those people who were nice to him in the primaries all magically got jobs. Yeah. Right? Which goes back to, how are you draining the swamp? Sarah Huckabee, why does Huckabee sound familiar? You don't see a bunch of Huckabees walking down the street. So, John McCain is probably going to die this week or next week. And then somebody's going to find Beacon of Speech. And next thing you know, we'll have headaches up the yin-yang. We'll be like that college professor at Fresno State. I don't know if you read about that, but after Barbara Bush died, some college professor said, good riddance, the Bushes are horrible people. And all of a sudden, 1 million people, swarmed on her and said, fire that girl. Fire that girl who said Barbara Bush was horrible. And it's like... Anyhow, I like John McCain. If John McCain was here, I would love to talk to John McCain. Okay? I feel bad bashing on John McCain. I really do. I know right in your head you're thinking, no, you don't. Okay?
That's only because I know you.
If he would have just said 2 years ago, Donald Trump is a horrible human being. Please do not vote for him. Vote for Gary Johnson. Vote for Jill Stein. Vote for, who's the constitutional law guy that Glenn Beck said to vote for?
Oh, God, isn't it like Mullen or something?
Yeah, I think McMullen or something. The point is that he did not do that. So when he's on his deathbed, waiting for the Reaper, screaming that Donald Trump is horrible, now is not the time. Okay? It's just not. Right? And they keep saying that Barack Obama's wife should run, in 2020. McCain's wife is young. She's like 62. Okay? Don't be surprised if McCain's wife doesn't either start the McCain Foundation or doesn't run on her own. You see what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, lots of people have youthful indiscretions, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you cannot base your career on having a mistress and then complain about Donald Trump's mistresses. That's all I'm saying. Okay, like someone like, who's George, we were talking about Barbara Bush passing away. That was George Herbert Walker Bush, right?
Yeah, that was
his wife.
Right.
He did not get a political career because of his wife. You know what I mean? So, okay, I want to move on. I don't want to keep dwelling on John McCain because now I'm starting to feel bad. We want to talk about Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac, 2 weeks ago, they fired Lindsey Buckingham. Lindsey Buckingham is what, 62, 64?
Oh, no, he's got to be close to 70.
Oh, no, Mick Fleetwood is 72. And I thought that Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks were like 5 years younger. Maybe 67.
Yeah, I think Stevie Nicks was born in 48, so I think she's 70.
Okay. Well, we'll go with your thing that she's 70. Okay, because
he's probably 69 or 68.
Why did they fire Lindsey
They
Buckingham?
actually fired him?
They fired him. They confirmed last week that they fired him.
Because he didn't want to go on tour. Is that it?
He did not want to go on tour. Why did he not want to go on tour?
Because he has things to do.
He has things to do, like promoting his solo album. And taking... I know. Taking vacations in the Swiss Alps and on the coast of Spain. Okay? Mick Fleetwood said, we're in our 70s. We cannot wait one more year for you to do God knows what you're going to do. We're going on tour. And Lindsey Buckingham said, no, I'm in no rush. What's your rush? Mick Fleetwood fled. Oh, okay, Lindsey Buckingham, we'll get back to you. Yeah, I talked to the rest of the band. You're fired. Right? And then the rest of the band came out and backed up Mick Fleetwood and said, we aren't getting any younger. We can only sing these Fleetwood Mac songs for so long. Well, Jesus Christ, how many times have you sung the Fleetwood Mac songs that you have to go on tour this fall? So, in my head, I'm like, good for Lindsey Buckingham. Because Lindsey Buckingham, how much money do you need? That you have to cut this short. And Lindsey Buckingham's like, what's your hurry? What does Fleetwood Mac have to say to the audience that they haven't said already? Just like John McCain. You know what I'm saying? How many ways can you sing Go Your Own Way? And they ended up replacing Lindsey Buckingham with 2 musicians. I read a story about 5 years ago that Mick Fleetwood was having trouble keeping time, right? And that they had to have a second drummer to keep Mick Fleetwood honest, right? So the song sounded good. And last time I saw Fleetwood Mac, they looked terrific. They looked like a well-oiled machine. Now, did you ever see Fleetwood Mac in concert when you were young?
No.
When they were young, name Fleetwood Mac. Name the members.
When they were young?
When rumors came out, when they were touring.
Oh, well, it was Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks, John McVie, Mick Fleetwood, and Christine McVie.
Right, there was the 5 of them.
Yeah.
So on stage, there's the 5 of them. Maybe a 6th person, maybe a touring person, 6 people, right? Last time I saw Fleetwood Mac, it was like on PBS. There was like 15 people on the stage. Now, they got Lindsey Buckingham up front, and the light's on him. I keep noticing I'm in the shadow, okay? But they got the light on him, and then they got the light on Stevie Nicks, right? And then if you look in the back shadows, you see a whole bunch of other musicians that are in the shadow with no lights on them. And you're like, how many people are playing on this song? Now, Lindsey Buckingham's on his game. You could tell that there's nobody keeping time. Lindsey Buckingham, you got to go your own way, and he's going crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I've seen him like on a long time ago, like probably '93 on PBS when he was doing his own tour.
Oh,
and he really gets into it. I mean,
he is rock and roll.
He's intense.
Right. And that's the whole thing. Well, I'm like, well, who are those other guys in the background? Right? And I told you earlier today, you didn't know, Christine McVie, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
She was kicked out of the band for like 15 years.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
She was out of the band.
I thought she retired.
Well, they said, back then, they said, you need to tour. And she's like, I got kids, I got this, I got this, I got things to do. And they're like, the Mac keeps going, out you go, right? And she goes, well, I'm going to retire then, right? But, at some point, you miss piles and piles of money, right? And one of the bands that I love to kick around, that I love, just making fun of and, dissing, right, is ABBA, okay? ABBA turned down $1 billion to get back together. And even though I hate ABBA, I always said I respected ABBA because it was a husband and wife and a husband and wife. And they said, you can pay us $1 billion, but you can't pay for our happiness. I do not want to be stuck on a stage with him. I don't want to be stuck on the stage with her.
They're all divorced now.
They're all divorced. They're all divorced. They're all happy living in rural Sweden or a castle in England, living their lives, right? This week, ABBA secretly went into the recording studio and recorded 2 new singles, right? And they said they want to release the singles because it was just like old times. Time heals all wounds. And they released 2 singles and they want to put out videos with holograms, with younger versions of themselves singing new songs of ABBA. All right, and I'm like, you know what? You guys are just as bad as Fleetwood Mac, all 4 of you, right? And their whole thing is they don't want to do the grinding tour. They don't mind paying a CGI version of themselves and then counting the money, which is the new rock and roll way, right? And so back to Fleetwood Mac. Lindsey Buckingham says, you know what, I don't need Fleetwood Mac. I've said what I needed to say. You guys keep going on tour. You guys keep doing... And Mick Fleetwood was, don't be like that. We just want to play rock and roll. We don't have too many more years rocking. It's like... So the whole point of Fleetwood Mac is... Rumors came out in 1977. So over 40 years ago, Rumors came out. Right? What else? How many? You had 40 years to see Rumors. If you haven't seen the song Rumors, you missed the boat. You can watch shows on PBS, like you said.
Well, what I was going to say is that
I'm sorry to interrupt.
I remember reading that in '87 they went through the same thing.
Yeah,
we want a tour. Lindsey doesn't want a tour, so he leaves and goes away. Then they get two nameless guys to replace them. So that's why this time they're making it sound like this is something new that happened.
Oh,
I can't believe he doesn't want to tour. This has been going on for at least 30 years, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And they're acting like they're surprised by it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What? How could he do this?
They're going to break up the Mac! And again, I understand the whole thing.
It's like they haven't figured out that he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. In 40 years, they haven't figured it out. Right? And it's like... And again, if I had piles of money, would you still be doing Beacon of Speech? Well, it depends. If I was getting death threats all the time, I'd be like, you know what, I don't know if it's worth all these death threats, all these McCain followers. When McCain was getting poked in the tiger cage, I was working at Taco Bell, messing around, with girls and stuff. Adult, over 18 girls, but you know what I mean. And poor John McCain, he was serving his country, and I was serving tacos. Okay? And so you could be like, well, Fred, you're a horrible human being. Right? I'll be like, oh, you know what? I don't need this. I'm going to sit on my stacks of money. And And so that's why I'm just like, maybe I wouldn't. But I would hope that I would still be doing some version of it where I'm still talking about what's on my mind. In the last 2 weeks, though, just like I said in the open, I'm starting to get a complex that I'm getting early onset Alzheimer's. So if that's the case, that is John McCain, and John McCain is in heaven or hell, depending on, I don't know where he's going, okay? And he is over my shoulder saying, I am going to take away Fred's...
Why do you think you're getting early onset Alzheimer's?
I can't focus. Last couple Have
you been eating like lead paint chips or...
What I've been doing is when I go to sleep at night, I've been licking my lead-based walls. Right? And I keep thinking... It's funny, my father-in-law, me and him talked about this. I don't know if me and you ever talked about this on the air. But I remember in science class, I think it was in 6th grade, playing with mercury. Do you remember that?
I never did that, but that's another thing I remember. I think my stepdad talked about that.
I remember them putting mercury on the table, and then the teacher saying, mercury can be dangerous. Don't play with it. Well, you're in 6th grade or 8th grade, and you're like, do-do-do-do, and you're touching it. And the teacher's like, don't touch the mercury.
Well, why did they put it on the table?
Why? But that's the whole thing, because it was cool. It was like gel. Right? And
they put it on the table and they say don't mess with that.
You can only mess with it like with this piece of paper, right? And you can move it around the table.
Were you like using your finger?
Oh yeah, kids are using their don't touch the mercury. And I remember talking to my father-in-law. I said, do you remember playing with the mercury? And he's like, oh yeah. He goes, now mercury gives you, all these diseases, and if you even look at mercury, your kids are going to have autism. If you look at mercury, your kids are going to have autism. We used to play with mercury in science class. I remember tossing mercury. I'm like, well, I don't remember tossing mercury, but I remember it being on the table and it moving across the table. And I can't remember if it was me or someone else. They said mercury can be dangerous, so don't touch it with your finger.
Is it like a liquid? Or?
Yeah, it's like a liquid. It's almost like Jell-O. It's between liquid and Jell-O. And you can move it right along. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I don't think I ever did that.
And I thought it was cool. I'm like, mercury is cool. I wish I could...
For some reason, in high school... Was that in high school?
I don't even think it was high school. I think it was middle school. Maybe it was high school.
I don't think we had that. And if I did, I don't remember it because I was... Probably have brain damage from playing with it.
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm like, you know what? I was probably the dumb kid playing with the mercury. I'm like, look at my mercury. So, so the Mac is back. I can't even tell what my third thing was. I wrote down 3 things. We want to talk about John McCain, Fleetwood Mac, and then I wrote this thing, and it looks like Zoid. Maybe it's 2018. You think what the hell am I talking about? I can't even read my own writing.
That looks like 2018.
So what do I care about 2018? By 2019, I'll probably be dead. That would be so fun. I'm telling you, the ultimate irony, okay? The ultimate irony is I lose my mind, okay? And somebody's like, holy cow, Ted Coley, you got to keep doing Beacon of Speech. Just replace Fred with like a 25-year-old who screams a lot and he thinks he's a libertarian and you are good to go. And next thing you know, you're producing him and you're like, you know what? Poor Fred, he didn't make any money off of Beacon of Speech. I hope he's rotten in hell. So,
is it like the elections in 2018 or is it?
I don't think so.
Did you want to talk about the draft or?
Oh, that's right. The 2000. See, thank you. See, I didn't even remember 2018 draft. You said you wanted to talk about whether it was good or bad.
Yeah. I wanted to know your opinion.
I think
who the Browns selected.
I think they did bad. This is why I think they did bad. Every year, Mel Kiper does a draft. Or he does a draft and he does a big board. And the big board, he rates the 500 best college football players. 1 to 500, okay? Just like John McCain should have been rating vice presidential candidates 1 to 500, okay? Which he didn't do, obviously, okay? And Mel Kiper says, these are the 500 best players. And then he does a draft that says it doesn't matter who the 500 best players are. this is who I think blah, blah, blah is going to pick, and blah, blah, blah is going to pick, and blah, blah, blah is going to pick, right? So basically, the GM of the Browns came in and said, I have the number 1 and number 4 pick on the board, and I'm going to take the guy who's number 10 and number 13 in the nation, according to Mel Kiper. Okay? Now, the GM came out and said, I did a big board of the 500 best players in America, and the guys I picked were number 1 and number 2. Okay, now you don't believe that for 1 second, do you? I don't believe that for 1 second either, but that's what he said. Okay, I got the top 2 guys in the draft. And I'm like, you're gotta be high. Okay? Now, if he is right, and the cornerback from Ohio State is an all-pro, and see, this is what I'm talking about. My recall is just shot to hell. Not Johnny Manziel. Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is, and he's the quarterback for 10 years. He leads the Browns to playoffs for 5 years. The number 1 pick was worth it. Okay? But the way the GM came off was, well, Mel Kiper can do his draft if he wants, but I'm smarter than Mel Kiper. Even though Mel Kiper's job, his only job since he's been an adult, when he started doing this, like 25 years, 30 years ago, his only job in the draft, in the history since he's been an adult, is picking who are the best football players. And John Dorsey's like, oh no, it's easy. I just rank them this way and blah, blah, blah. So my whole argument is I don't think he picked the 2 best players. Now, John Dorsey can prove me wrong because Mel Kiper is not always right. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think he messed up. If you rated the 5 best quarterbacks 1 to 5, who would you have picked? Baker Mayfield would have been 3rd. Okay, he wasn't the best. He wasn't the fifth best, right? But I am nobody. I can have my opinions, free speech, blah, blah, blah. Right? As long as the Browns GM is right, that's fine.
I have a question for you then. Right. What did your father-in-law think? Because isn't he the biggest football fan on earth?
He is the biggest football fan on earth. But I don't want to disparage him, so we'll keep it brief. He said that the Browns GM did a great job drafting, right? Just like they didn't give Trump a chance of winning the 2016 election. Nobody thought Baker Mayfield was going to be the number 1 pick. And I'm like, I respect his opinion. He is a better football man. So if my father-in-law says Baker Mayfield was the best person in the draft, I agree with my father-in-law. Okay? I'm just saying there's no comparison between Baker Mayfield in the 2018 draft and Donald Trump in the 2016 election. You see what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying, because I don't like disagreeing with him, because he is right more times than I can remember. He is spot on about football. So if he says Baker Mayfield was a good pick, I will not argue with him. I'm just saying there's no comparison to Trump.
Well, it sounds like all he's saying is that he's only comparing them because neither one of them, nobody would have seen either thing come.
Nobody saw, none of these. I wrote down 20 different draft gurus, and 19 of them said that they were not picking Baker Mayfield 1. So my father-in-law's point is nobody thought the Browns were going to pick Baker Mayfield. And that is right. But when he says, nobody saw the best man winning, and I'm like, well, I don't know about that. So the Trump analogy is where I think that's a bit of a stretch. You see what I'm saying? But my father-in-law, he's a big Trump supporter too. Like I said, he would be on here saying, listen, Fred, McCain is disparaging Trump. And I'm like, listen, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying, and again, because you're a Trump supporter, even though I yell at you, I try to tread lightly. I don't come on and say, Donald Trump is, we should put Donald Trump in a tiger cage and poke him and see how he likes it. I'm not a left-wing, crazy like that, okay? But the whole point is, going back to the draft, I just did not see the big boards that I saw. Did not see those two as the two best guys. That's all. But my father-in-law still has time to be proven right. If Baker Mayfield takes the Browns to the playoffs in 2020, he will be spot on. He is worth the number 1 draft pick. Right?
See, and I guess what
did I say 2001?
I think so.
2020. Oh, I'm gonna have to go to the psychiatric ward to get tested.
See, we're gonna have to be like Fleetwood Mac. We're gonna have a bunch of people behind us backing us up.
There's gonna be somebody behind the computer flashing cue cards. Fred, 2020, not 2001.
Because we don't have it anymore.
Right. Oh, you'll be spot on. It's funny because I went to a funeral last year, and my aunt, right? She's 80. Okay. And her brain is still perfect, right? But she can't hear. So she can talk all day long, politics, sports, whatever. But she can't hear, right? My uncle's 80, and his mind is fried, okay? But he can hear fine.
Are they a couple?
Yeah, they're a couple. So they're a couple.
That's good then.
Yeah,
they
so
each have...
Yeah, so between the two of them, one of them, they have the thinking capacity of one, and they can hear for one.
See,
but they can't
they're a real team.
Yeah, they are a real team. And it's horrible to say, that's why I didn't give out their names, but it's like, she knows what's going on, but she can't hear, and he doesn't know what's going on, and he can hear fine.
It's like the monkeys or whatever.
Yeah, hear no evil, see no evil. So their marriage works perfect. Between the two of them, they got the faculties of one. So, and again, they're about the same age as John McCain, the Reaper sitting on their shoulder. So, like I said, you guys can all enjoy the first stages of Fred's dementia. And, you can watch Beacon of Speech and watch it go down, 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 down.
So do you think you have, what is it, CTE or?
Nah, no, I don't think so. I think I just have early onset dementia.
You didn't, didn't you say you've had a couple of concussions, though?
Oh, yeah. I had 4 concussions.
You had 4?
Yes. Yes, I had 4 concussions. But then Bernie Kosar said he had 100 concussions. Yeah. So I think of people who play sports and people, who drive racing cars. They've had tons of concussions.
Kosar really had that many?
He said that if you describe what a concussion is to Bernie Kosar,
he said I had a dime for every concussion I had, I'd be a millionaire.
He said if you go by the symptoms of a concussion, he has had over 100. If you go by the medical textbook, okay.
Wow.
All right. Do you want to hear about my concussions or no? You want to have some fun?
No, I mean, is that an abnormally high number for a quarterback?
Oh, no, no.
I'm talking about.
Well, I think.
In other words, there's other quarterbacks who are in the same boat as Kosar?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, you got a stick over there?
Stick?
I thought we had a stick somewhere just laying around. Okay, I was playing hockey on a pond, okay, when I was 18 years old, okay? And we were playing without helmets because we weren't playing real hockey. We were in our tennis shoes with, baseball mitts, in the 50s. We weren't playing real hockey. So it wasn't the speed of the game. The puck wasn't rubber. It was plastic, right? And I was playing goalie, and the puck slid over on the pond, and I jumped on it, and one of my friends hit me across the top of the head with a hockey stick. Okay, and I remember standing up. I'm like, oh, my God. And I remember looking up, and it was like the brightest the earth had ever been. I'm like, oh! And I went and sat down on the side. I'm like, why is everything so bright?
Why does everything happen to me?
Yeah, why does everything happen to me?
How old were you?
I was 18, right? I'm like, why is everything so bright? And then I went to the doctor 2 months later, and they said, well, you probably had a concussion. And they're like, well, what do you want us to do about it? And I'm like, you know what? Screw you guys, right? And then playing soccer I had to. Once I got kicked in the head, the ball really rattled me really good. And then another time, I think I hit the boards or something. I don't remember. Because it was bang, bang. I had my concussions when I was 18, 19, 19. and then I was in a serious car accident when I was like 21. So I had like 4 and 3 years.
Wow.
But other than that, I haven't had any concussions, right? So in my head, I keep thinking, you know, I really haven't had as many concussions as all these people who, you know, have had 100 concussions. And they said, well, all you need is 1. And I said, well, I don't think it was that bad.
Oh, so if you have one
serious
one
concussion,
that's bad enough, you could end up. Wow.
Yeah. So like I said, Beacon of Speech, like it would be the ultimate irony. As soon as we get the show going, they're like, Fred, you can't do Beacon of Speech because you don't know up from down. You're in 10 years, you're still going to be screaming, John McCain! John McCain! He should have, you know what, John McCain should have stopped Trump. They're like, John McCain's been dead for 10 years. No, I just talked to him. John McCain. So that'll be me. And then, like I said, you'll come and visit me, and you'll play some horrible music, and you'll be like, hey, Fred. And I'll be like, Joe Kaufman! Joe Kaufman, I'm glad you're here.
And he's not even there.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're Joe Kaufman. Joe Kaufman, I knew Ted Coley could do it. I knew Ted Coley was the brains behind everything.
Wow.
Yeah, so and now that we're so far out, we're making fun of people at the men. Like I said, if you say right now, okay, you know, we had a boss, and he weighs, what does he weigh now? Ballpark, 350, 400?
I have no idea.
He weighs a lot. Okay, we always joke around that he's going to die of a heart attack. And when we say we, I mean me. Ted's not like that, okay? Now, if Steve went out and he went out and killed himself, I would be stunned. I would fall over because Steve would never kill himself because he likes money and cheeseburgers too much, okay? So when you say, Fred, how are you going out, okay? Number 1 is stroke or dementia. Like, somebody's going to piss me off so bad I can feel the veins in my head, like, bursting. I'd be like, oh, my God, I can't think anymore. My brain, I joke around like, what did Glenn Beck used to say? He used to say that
you have to duct tape your head.
You have to duct tape your head together. And that's how I feel some days. I'm like, oh, my God, my head's going to explode. I swear to God, that's the way it's either my head's going to explode or everything, all the information's going to fall on my head. I'm just going to be walking around like, oh. Those are 2 ways I'm going out, right? So that's why, you know, how's Ted going out? Ted's probably going to live to 110, okay? I read about a guy in Australia just this week, okay? He's 100.
Well, if I do live to be 110, I'm really screwed because I won't have any family. I'll be 110 and be like,
no, Ted, you are going to be the No, let me tell you. There's this guy, he lived to be 104, and he's from Australia.
Because, well,
oh, go ahead.
It's not like I don't, you know, I have brothers and sisters or whatever, but what I'm saying, I don't have a family, I don't have kids.
Right.
And somebody brought up a good point, somebody else who's close to my age who doesn't have kids, and they're like, you know, you start to think that's one of the benefits of having kids is that when you get older, then they have to take care of you. Yeah. But it's like if you don't have kids, it's like...
Oh, no, Ted, this is the way it's going to be. First of all, I'm going to tell you... Do
you think your kids will take care of me? Or?
Oh, no. No, my kids aren't taking care of me, let alone you. You know that we're not going to talk about what happened at the comic book day, but, you know, that's what's going to happen. My kids are going to put me in the home and say, listen, you remember that what happened at comic book day? This is your payback. But, listen, see, I don't remember where I was going already. See, that's how I'm telling you, dementia's sitting in. There's a guy in Australia, 104 years old, perfect health for a 104-year-old. He goes, I have nothing more to give. I'm going to fly to Europe and get euthanasia, right? And they said this guy was a scientist. He edited like 1,000-word thesis on the history of seeds. Like something like so mundane that you're like, how did that guy even do this when he was, you know, in his peak health, right? Like, could you write about seeds for 1,000 pages, or you know, flowering?
No, but it is funny though. It seems like a lot of those scientists do live a long time.
Oh yeah, because they have a purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what's your purpose?
Well, then if that's the criteria, then I'm not going to live a long time because I don't have a purpose.
Oh, yeah, well, that's why I keep torturing you. Your purpose is beacon of speech. When I lose my mind, you have to say, Fred Hunt says freedom of speech, even for the dumb rappers and the dumb heavy metal artists. And I
so in a way, we could almost be like Jan and Dean or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Because wasn't the one guy got into a car accident and was basically...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll be like Jan and Dean. I'll be the vegetable. You'll be the mouthpiece. And like I said, you could just give the checks to my kids, and I'm sure they'll be grateful that they're getting checks from their vegetative dad. But anyhow, so once I go, right, because I'm sure, I'll be a vegetable, and then I will stroke out, right? Here's what you do. You save money in your life, right? You go out the Artie Lang way. You'd be like, you know what? I don't have any kids. I don't have any family. I'm doing beacon of speech. I am hiring hookers, okay? And you don't get expensive high-end hookers, okay? You go down, and I was thinking about this week. Don't ask me why.
No Stormy Daniels?
No Stormy Daniels, because Stormy Daniels is a high-end hooker, okay? Or high-end porn, whatever you want to say, right? You go down to a local trailer park, and you say, $25, and you can get the meth, right? And there's things you can do without actually having, coitus or whatever. And you just get yourself a cheap hooker, and you're like, well, I don't care. Even if I'm caught, what are my kids going to say? Screw them, right? And that's the way you got to do it. And once I'm gone, you don't have to worry about me. And I'm not, even if you did that now, I'm not going to make fun of you about it, right? Because we know secrets about Joe Kaufman we don't tell on air, right? Yeah, he's laughing because he knows them, right? He ain't Joe's not getting cheap hookers. It's other secrets. But the point is that you won't have to worry about
Joe
this.
Kaufman's not watching.
Yeah, Joe Kaufman's watching. I'm going to kill him, guys. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to kill Fred Hunt, and then we're going to prop him up in the chair, and he's going to be drooling like Stephen Hawking, right? And he won't even be able to point. He won't even be able to point to the Reaper. Fred Hunt, here comes the Reaper. Fred, oh, the Reaper's coming. Hi, the Reaper. Stupid Joe Kaufman shot me.
See, now we're making fun of Stephen Hawking.
Yeah. We're making fun of the recently deceased and the soon-to-be deceased. Oh, we're doing great, Ted. This is going to be the episode. As soon as we get that contract, they're going to be, let's go back and look at Beacon of Speech number 85. And you're going to be like, 80. Oh, no, don't look at 85. Do not look at that.
See, normally somebody who says the things that we're saying right now would end up losing their sponsors, but we don't have
it. We don't have it. We don't have to worry about sponsors. We don't have to worry about, and again, I'm sorry to beat the dead horse, okay? We have freedom of speech because we have nothing left to lose.
It's funny because you've used that phrase before, beating a dead horse, and I always picture you literally
beating a horse.
It always makes me laugh because I can see it. I could see you like beating on a dead horse.
Technically, my wife could leave me and say, you're a horrible person. So I do have things I could lose, right? But there is no pile of money. Okay, there is no pile of money in the Hunt bank accounts, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know who you're going to sue. Okay, you could sue, and I'm going to open up the vault, and you can have all the dust in my bank account, right? And if you go to Ted's house and you look at Ted, no offense to Ted's house, but he has about the same amount of money as me. Okay, and off air we could talk about differences, but if we open up the Ted bank accounts, you are not sitting on a big pile of money in the thing. So the whole thing is that if we were sitting on piles of money and we had to get elected to Beacon of Speech, we would not be saying horrible things like that, even if they were true. Now, you could be like Ted. Ted would be like, Fred, you're brave like Howard Stern. I believe you would keep saying this until you're dead. Even if you're a vegetable, you are looking at the laser. You're looking at the letters that spell out John McCain screwed us in 2016, right? You're not going to let that go, right? But I would like to think that, what is the line that, REM, It's the end of the world as we know it. And they keep screaming, Lenny Bruce is not afraid. Lenny Bruce, didn't he die of like alcoholism and alone and...
Well, he was a comedian.
Right.
And what happened? He said some really controversial things, and they basically hounded him.
Hounded him to death.
Yeah, I don't know specifically how he died, but I don't think it was like a natural, like he just got old and...
Yeah, that did not happen to Lenny Bruce. I want to say he drank himself to death, and then there's conspiracy theories and all that other fun stuff. But it's the same thing with me and you. Even though I tried to push the envelope, and I know you tried to back me off from the edge sometimes, I try to say things that I see as true, and that's why we have freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. That's why this is called Beacon of Speech, right? If I cross the line with John McCain, which I'm pretty sure that I did, okay?
Well, speaking of Lenny Bruce, and I think you mentioned Howard Stern said of himself that he always thought that's what was going to happen to him, that he was going to be like Lenny Bruce.
Yeah. Oh, Lenny Bruce didn't get old. See, I'll just be losing my faculties. I'll write stuff down. I'll be like, Lenny Bruce? What did I mean when I wrote down Lenny Bruce? What was I thinking? All right, now that I'm all paranoid that I have Alzheimer's or dementia. Oh, you know what? I'm at the doctor's office, and the doctor, he listens to Beacon of Speech, and he's like, oh, don't worry, Fred. You got Parkinson's. That's Parkinson's. Parkinson's, or, there's a whole slew. Technically, talk about horrible things. Robin Williams, I read about him. I'm not a fan of Robin Williams either, okay? Robin Williams said that part of the reason he killed himself, I guess he released a book. How did Robin Williams release a book? Well, I guess he kept memoirs, and his wife is like, oh, we're going to release Robin Williams' memoirs. It's like, oh, can't you just let Robin Williams rest in peace? Again, the second or third wife, much younger. Hey, how can we keep the gravy train going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Robin Williams, I think, don't quote me on it because I'm not 100% sure. He didn't have dementia. Didn't he have Lewy body? Which is what got Casey Kasem.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever even heard of that. What's it called?
I think it's Lewy body or something. But it's another type of dementia. And they're like, oh, no, that's not dementia. It's Lewy body. And you're like, oh, that sounds even worse than dementia.
So Robin Williams had some kind of...
Yeah, it came out in his book. I guess she's promoting his book. Again, John McCain, you do not get points for being brave. Because in 2016, you did not stand up to Trump. You stood up to him in 2018 when there was no more consequences for standing up to him. And you're trying to sell a book. So I don't blame Robin Williams because Robin Williams put this in his own personal memoirs. I blame his wife. Robin Williams knew the end was near. And again, this is according to the new book coming out. Because he was in the trailer and he's trying to memorize his lines. And he can't remember his lines. And he said, I used to be able to remember my lines. And he would go to his makeup artist and said, I can't remember my lines. And he's crying to the makeup artist. So the wife interviewed the makeup artist. And the makeup artist is like, I didn't know what to do. I'm not a mental health professional. They pay me to do Robin Williams' makeup, and he's crying that he has dementia or Lewy body. He's like, I didn't know what to tell him. And it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
Because you like Robin Williams, and I didn't wish ill upon him, but he knew what was coming. He's like, I'm going out the door. I'm not sticking around let this happen to me.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do when that's your whole life is, even as a stand-up,
oh, yeah.
You have to memorize an act.
Yeah.
And, what happens when you just can't do it?
Yeah.
I mean, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
What's he going to do? Work at a gas station? I mean...
When you write down 2018, you can't remember what 2018 means. You're screwed. So I'm about a year before... you'll be my makeup artist. We get off air. I start crying. And then when you write the memoir, the Beacon of Speech memoirs, you'll be like, you know what? Fred kind of got what he deserved. all he ever did was make fun of head injuries, and then he got some. And
yeah, it's funny because I remember like the day that Robin Williams died, and you know how initially they don't say what it is. They just say, Robin
Williams dead.
My initial thought was, even before they said what happened, was I thought he had like a heart attack or something because he had heart surgery.
And he had problems with cocaine.
Yeah. That's what I initially thought. I'm like, oh, he probably had a heart attack or something like that.
All right, I'm just going to keep yammering on. Do you want to do a song of the day?
Do I want to do a song of the day? This always happens. That, man.
Do you want to do something?
Oh, okay. I'll do "Watching the Wheels" by John Lennon.
Okay, Watching the Wheels. Because the wheels
you know that song, right?
Oh yeah, watching the wheels go round and round.
Do you like that song?
Yeah, I do. But all I can think of, because now I'm gonna get off the air. I'm gonna be freaked out. Okay, I'm gonna be like, oh, are the wheels still turning? Am I up on my game? I was making fun of John McCain, and now that's called karma. And now slow death is coming. Do you
think when John McCain does die, he's gonna be on the other side, like?
Oh yeah, he's coming down. He's gonna be.
I'm gonna get Fred for.
Can you see that glare next to the Indian? You're gonna see the outline of John McCain out there. And again, I like John McCain. I feel horrible. I know you say you don't think I feel horrible. I do feel horrible. I'm just saying all this Trump stuff. I told people in 2000, and this is why I'm so mad. In 2015, I told people, don't vote for Donald Trump, you idiots. And then people like John McCain's like, well, you know what? Donald Trump's an idiot, but what are you going to do? Well, you can do something. You just don't want to do anything. I didn't care if I lost. Why? It didn't matter.
During the primary, I did vote for John Kasich.
Yeah, I did too.
And the thing that I thought was funny was John Kasich won Ohio.
Yeah.
And I just remember him on stage when it was announced, and he was acting like he won like the presidency.
Yeah,
there were balloons. Weren't there balloons coming down?
Yes,
it's like you did not win anything.
You won the state, and then
you're not going to be the president of Ohio.
Hey, do we have any sheets of paper left? Well, let me rip one in half real quick. Give me a second. Election day is next week. I got one. Let me rip it in. Let me do a predictions, because we never do predictions. Okay? We're going to flip over this piece of paper. Next week, May. Okay? In Ohio, the horrible Mary Taylor. Please do not vote for her. Only the second time I've said don't vote. I said don't vote for Trump, don't vote for Mary Taylor.
Why? What is it about Mary Taylor?
Her basic platform is, if you love Trump, you will love me more. I'm more Trump than Trump. Okay? Like, ugh. Okay? So May 6th, okay, DeWine is running against Mary Taylor. I am going to vote for DeWine.
This is for governor, right?
This is for governor, but this is
the primaries.
So
these are the Republican candidates. Is it just those two?
I think there's more, but those are the two main ones. I am voting for DeWine.
Now, am I correct in thinking, is Kucinich running for the Democrat?
That's where I'm going. For the Republicans.
Will you be voting for Kucinich?
No. DeWine and Taylor are running on the Republican side. Okay? I predict that DeWine will win, and I will vote for DeWine. Okay? On the Democrat side, Kucinich is running. And isn't it Corduroy?
No, Cordray or...
Yeah, isn't Rob
Richard?
What?
Richard or...
Yeah, Richard Corduroy.
Is that another family where every one of them is in politics?
Yeah, I think so. But does that sound right?
I know there's a Cordray. I don't know which one it is.
I think on the Democrat side is Kucinich and Corduroy. Okay? I am going to predict that whoever Kucinich is running against will win. Even if it's not Rich Corduroy, even if it's Joe Smith, I predict Kucinich will not win.
What if it's like a German Shepherd? Or...
Yeah. No matter whatever the hell the guy's name is. Okay? Kucinich will not win. But I am not voting. You cannot vote in the Democrat and Republican primaries. Okay, so I'm gonna.
There's no Gary Johnson.
No Gary Johnson that I'm voting for. I'm specifically voting for DeWine to stop crazy Mary Taylor. Okay, now, who do you think is going to win the Republican side, and who are you going to vote for?
I guess I'm going to vote for DeWine, and I think.
Well, if you don't know, you don't have to say, because if you're still going to do research, we'll say you haven't decided. But who do you think is going to win?
I think DeWine is going to win.
Okay, you think DeWine is going to win too. So Fred and Ted. and I put a star in case I forget.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Kucinich is going to win.
Lord.
I didn't say I'm voting for him.
No, I know. The problem with Dennis Kucinich is that Dennis Kucinich had no chance to win those Democrat primaries when he ran all those times. But Dennis Kucinich is like, you know what I like? I like hanging out with celebrities who tell me how awesome I am. And that is what they call a star-effer. Okay? And Dennis Kucinich, I never seen a politician see somebody famous and go like this so much in my life. A celebrity! We're buddies! Right? So, all right. It's 1:30. Let's go. We'll save this. We'll put this on the table. This is predictions for next week because the primaries are this week, right?
Yeah.
And if I get diagnosed with early onset dementia, we will probably tie up Beacon of Speech and you can yell at me for an hour and a half. Does that sound fair? And you could change the name of it to Fred Sucks. And then you can make fun of me and point at that. So
now, if you do get diagnosed with that, will I be able to carry on the Beacon of Speech brand?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I won't care. I'll be like, oh, that's a good concept. Beacon of Speech. I wish I would have thought of that. I wish I would have come up with that, you know? And I'll glare off in the distance and I'll be like, who are those four boys over there? I was joking around about this earlier this week. I'd be like, you know what? I could watch all my favorite shows all over again and like them, brand new. I'd be like, this is a great show. Is this a popular show?
That would almost be worth it.
Yeah, The Perks of Dementia by Fred Hunt.